We're gonna look through this list of the top 100 video games of all time and see what we think of it. This is the IGN one because this is the one that popped up for me this week and I was like, interesting. I guess some things from my part to start off with. From my perspective, like, I'm not a big Nintendo person. The only Nintendo games I've ever really been into are Pokemon and Animal Crossing. So I'm sure there are things on here that I haven't played or have felt pretty meh about.
Now that was fun. Don't tell me that wasn't fun.
Thank you so much for the subby. I appreciate you. Yeah, we'll see which games I've Mass Effect. We'll see which games I've actually played first of all, and also whether I think they deserve to be on this list. And you all can tell me what you've played and what your opinions are too. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna judge and compare, and just chat video games because we're on Twitch. That's something we tend to do no matter what we're playing. We often get off topic and start talking about entirely different games anyway. All right. Let's get into a 3. Oh no, Joby. Alright, top 100 video games of all time. I think we've had some spoilers in the video here, if anyone's been paying attention. Let's...
The greatest...
Oh, turn that off. Alright, we're gonna skip all this. Bum, 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 bum. Here's our list. At number 100, we have one of my favorite games of all time. So if it was a personal list of favorite games... it would definitely be much higher than 100, but I'm glad that it has made it onto this list somewhere because, again, it is one of my favorite games of all time, Borderlands 2. So it definitely deserves to be somewhere. I love this game. I love Borderlands. We should know I love Borderlands because, like, Tiny Tina's was such a good entry into the series as well. Divinity Original Sin 2, I have not played, but Nathan played it and really enjoyed it, so I'm not really surprised that that's on there as well because I've seen a lot of like high commendations is the word I'm looking for, but I'm not surprised that's on here. Not surprised about Final Fantasy either, even though this one I haven't played. As much as I love Final Fantasy and I have played a lot of Final Fantasy games, I've actually never played 7, despite the fact that it is the one people always talk about. I've never played 7 or any like before 7. My first game was 9, and I've watched and dabbled in 8, but anything before that, like, I've never played, so I'm not surprised it's here, but I haven't personally played it. I probably should. I do own it on Steam, so maybe at some point I'll get around to that. But so far, definitely games, I'm not surprised, are on this list somewhere, but yeah, Borderlands is one of my personal favorites. Yeah. I feel like Borderlands 2 just has, like, it has fun gameplay, but it also just has like a lot of heart to it. There's something about it that's just very charismatic. I think Handsome Jack also comes into that because he's a very charismatic villain, and a lot of the villains of like other editions just haven't quite measured up, but I love that game. Alright, 97, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I've never really played the Assassin's Creed franchise. There's only a couple of games I've like dabbled in. I did actually start Black Flag, but it was when I was at, like, staying at someone's house and they had it. So I technically started Black Flag, but obviously never played it again because it wasn't my game and I was at someone else's place. But yeah, I'm not necessarily surprised about this either. Assassin's Creed is a pretty big series, and I've definitely heard people speak positively about Black Flag in that context as well. I feel like I should play it. Like, pirates? That's my kind of thing. Monkey's Island 2. I've never played any of the Monkey Island games, but I've definitely heard them spoken about. So yeah, not surprising. I know they're kind of have their place in like video game history, and I think there's actually another one coming out. Correct me if I'm wrong or if anyone knows, but I think I heard someone talking recently about the fact that there's another Monkey Islands coming out, maybe? Burnout 3. I have zero interest in car games. So not my kind of thing, but sure, if there's car stuff on here, that's a car game, right? I don't care about cars, man. I don't care about cars? I don't care about cars. Fallout 2. I haven't played Fallout 2. I've only played Fallout 4 and a little bit of New Vegas. But freaking no. I mean, I knew this was on the list because, as I said, I've seen the end of the list, but League of Legends. Would I put League of Legends anywhere on a list? No. But at the same time, I recognize, like, how big a game League of Legends is and how big its fan base is. But I don't like League of Legends, and, like, I tried playing it. Was that last year? That was last year we were playing it, right, man? A bunch of... And I don't really like... I love the character designs and the lore of League of Legends, but, like, the gameplay isn't really my thing. I like TFT. I enjoy TFT, the, like, spin-off game. But, like, classic League of Legends, character design, amazing. Lore, really interesting. Arcane was a fantastic show. The game is not really my thing. And I've tried playing with people, and it's okay to play with friends sometimes, but even then, I'm like, I don't think I'm enjoying this. Especially because of how horrible some of the community I've run into is. Like, people just swearing in the chat constantly. But yeah, and there's Mega Man. Haven't played a Mega Man game, but there you go, Mega Man 3. I so wish that I did really like League of Legends purely because of how much I love the character designs, and so how much I would love to cosplay some of them. But I don't know that I could cosplay them in good conscience. Are we surprised that Animal Crossing's here? Of course we're not surprised. Animal Crossing, like this Animal Crossing game came out, although the Animal Crossing New Horizons, I wouldn't say is the best Animal Crossing game, just because it's missing so many features from previous games, but it came out at the perfect time because it was right when a lot of countries were like going into lockdowns and things, or like self-isolation. And so it came at the perfect time, and it did cause there to be such an uprise in the fandom and of how many people were playing Animal Crossing, because like I'd played most of the games previously, but so many people were new to the franchise with this game, and so many people, like there are still people playing it now, years later, actively. So I do think, as much as like I like to get mad about how many things they could have done that aren't in previous games, including like a lack of personality, yeah, I'm not surprised this is on this list, and yeah, I do still love Animal Crossing. It has a place in my heart. I have never played this game either. Thief 2, I don't think I've even heard of this game, but I also am no good at stealth. So I have no interest in playing a stealth game, which is what I assume this is from the title. SimCity. I've never played a SimCity game, but I can definitely appreciate this, and this doesn't necessarily surprise me. Inside's a good stream game. What is Inside? Oh, puzzle platformer. Builds on Limbo. Is it like Limbo has that creepy vibe. Does this one have a creepy vibe, or is it a puzzle platformer without the creepy vibe? Because I'm not usually a big platforming fan, but I did really like Little Nightmares, and that had the creepy vibes. Although I also have Limbo, I think I have Limbo on my Switch actually, and I haven't played it yet. Now, Titanfall was the first Titanfall, like I'm trying to wrap my head around what this is. The first Titanfall was that game that like completely flopped, right? Regardless, I've never played any Titanfall, but like, am I thinking right that there was a first Titanfall that like flopped so bad and everybody hated, and yet somehow they still made a second one? And apparently it ended up on this list, so that's interesting. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Tony Hawk's, I feel like, is one of those games that like everyone I knew had, and like my cousins had. So I definitely have played like little bits and pieces of this. I feel like when I've been at other people's houses, or I feel like even we used to have like pubs that would have like we have pubs that have like kids areas, but when I was growing up, a lot of those had like PlayStations in them, and so I feel like these are also games that were often in those. I feel like it was often like Spyro, Crash, and like skating games or something of that respect. I feel like that might have also been the case. Yeah, I've never actually particularly played them, sports stuff in general. But I've played snippets, and I'm not surprised that one would end up on a list like this. Monster Hunter World, I have actually played. I got Monster Hunter World on release, but I'd never played a Monster Hunter game previously. I just thought it looked cool. And I did play a bunch of it, but I didn't like... I feel like I didn't get that far, because the problem I had with Monster Hunter is I did like Monster Hunter, and I thought there was a lot about it that was very cool, including like design elements, The problem I had with Monster Hunter is that I didn't have anyone to play with, and I found solo hunting could be so tedious. It was so tedious. So I feel like if I had have had people to play with at the time, I would have played a lot more of it, just because it was such a slow, tedious process doing it alone. Resident Evil. I've actually only ever played Resident Evil 7, and you all saw me do that. That's the only Resident Evil game I've played. I feel like I am interested in, like, visiting more of the Resident Evil franchise, because I did, as much as it scared the crap out of me, like, 7 I really enjoyed. I did really enjoy 7. System Shock 2, haven't played. I know this is an older game, though. I've definitely heard of it. I think, is this one that's often... I feel like, is this the one that's often talked about in the context for, like, paving the way for Bioshock? Also, Mortal Kombat. I haven't played Mortal Kombat. The only fighting game, the fighting franchise I was ever into was Dead or Alive. I also played multiple of the Dead or Alive volleyball games. Now, I played all of these games as a young teenager before I realized that I was queer. I did not know at that point. I think I might still own one of them on 360, actually. I've never played a Persona game, but I have definitely seen a lot about them. I told you Dark Souls was here. At 80, we have Dark Souls. Ooh. I have technically played Dark Souls. Did I, like, play a huge amount of it? No. I definitely played more of it than Black Flag, though. I own Dark Souls on Xbox. I did actually give it a few good tries of playing it. I just don't, it's one of those things I just didn't have the patience for. Like, I don't have the patience to keep redoing things until I get it right. I don't want to. I just... 79. These are both games I've played. Look at that. Now, this is a game that for years I talked about how much I did not like this game. I mean, I was also influenced by the fact that, you know, I'm a teacher and it's all kids talked about for 2 years straight. So that certainly didn't help. It made me very annoyed with the game. But for years I talked about how much I did not like this game. And what has been my most played game in the past few weeks, you ask? It's Fortnite. I've even gotten other people into playing it. It's Lee's fault originally, though. My friend Lee, she started it. She started playing it and got a bunch of us playing it with her, and now I have, like, made Ali and Vanessa play it. It's the cycle. And I've already put money into this game, which I probably didn't need to do, but cute skins. Yeah. So I'm not surprised it's on this list, and you know what? As much as I hated this game for years, when you're playing with friends, it can be a really fun time. So... Fable 2, that's actually a surprise. Fable is one of my favorite franchises of all time. 2 and 3, I feel like I don't remember specifically, though, because the only one that I've played the crap out of and that I've replayed too many times to count, especially since, like, I, you know, played it multiple times when I originally had it on Xbox. I got it on Steam and played it on Steam, and then, like, the Anniversary Edition came out, and I think I've played through most of that a couple of times at least. So the first game I have played the crap ton out of, and Fable's one of my favorite franchises, but I don't remember 2 and 3 that much. But still, like, Fable representation. We love that. Oh, GoldenEye. I haven't played this. I know of that game though, so that's something. Super Smash Brothers. Again, not the biggest Nintendo person, but I've played some of the Smash Brothers. Which one is this, though? Like, I wouldn't even know which ones I've played, because when I've played them, even if there's some I've probably played a lot of, I've only played them at other people's houses. Like, I've never owned a Super Smash Brothers. Like, I have played them. Not, like, my favorite game ever, but, like, I'll play a few rounds. Like, I'll play a few rounds if a bunch of people are playing at, like, a party or something, and then I'm done. Like, again, not my favorite type of thing, but not surprised. And it has its place. Definitely the game I've seen the most. Like, these games in general are the games I've seen the most, like, out and about. There's always somebody with this. Spelunky, I've heard of this but haven't played it. I've never heard of this game, though. Return of the Obra Dinn? Dota 2, Mario Kart 8, again in that vein of Nintendo. I've played some Mario Kart, again, when I've been at other people's houses. I've never owned a Mario Kart. And honestly, Crash Team Racing was always my racing game. Screw Mario Kart. Crash Team Racing forever. Fuck more Nintendo. We have Donkey Kong. Alright. Sims 3! Yes. Yes. I have a lot of problems with Sims 4. And I think it says, The Sims 3 takes the crown in being the best base version of The Sims yet, is what this blurb says. And yes, Sims 4, like especially Sims 4 base game with no expansion, Sims 4 base game, horrible. Horrible. I love The Sims 3. I spent so many hours playing The Sims 3. I remember like when we were in our last year of school, I was like playing The Sims 3 in a lot of my spare time and like making stories, and I was even like drawing out like storyboards of what happened in my stories, and showing people my drawings of my the lives of my Sims 3 characters. Yes, I would put Sims 3 in my top games of all time. Yes. Splinter Cell I've never played, but Splinter Cell, okay. Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island, again, haven't played that much Nintendo. Silent Hill 2, I've never played a Silent Hill game. Again, part of that is because like they're older games, and I mean when these were out, I was probably too young to be playing them. Although, I don't even know exactly when these came out. I feel like I saw my dad playing some of the Silent Hill games though. GTA. The only GTA I've played is 5, really, and even then, I didn't actually play the main game. I only got it for the online mode, for just random antics with other people. Not really my type of game, necessarily. I don't necessarily feel a need to play, like, be a crime person. I feel like my dad had some of these games, and there were a few occasions where he let me play it. And I'm just that person who goes around, like, trying to drive on the streets correctly and stuff, like... So not necessarily something I fit in with. Am I surprised there's a GTA game, though? No. Oh yeah, and there's XCOM 2, which is really funny, because before we looked at this, didn't Paul specifically say XCOM 2, I like that as a game, but it definitely should be on top 100? Well, there it is. They've got it at 65. Control I've heard of, never played. Call of Duty... I don't know which ones I've played. Technically, I've played some Call of Duties, not like the story or anything, but I've played a bunch of Call of Duty multiplayer with other people. But I don't even know which ones I played. Never liked any Tomb Raider game. Rise of the Tomb Raider. I haven't played the new ones yet, but I have them. I have the new games because they were free on Epic at some point. So I do have them, and they're a game that I'm considering streaming at some point. I'm considering streaming like that new line of Tomb Raider games at some point. I have played this game. Technically never finished Arkham City, but I did play quite a bit of it. I just got stuck again at some of the stealth sections. But I love Batman. And these games are kind of the thing that really amped up my love of Harley as well, because like I'm a 90s kid, so I had seen the cartoon that she comes from, and like definitely enjoyed her in that. But I think when I was a young teen and I was seeing a lot of like screen grabs and stuff from the Arkham games was when I particularly kind of got back into her and started like rewatching a bunch of like the animated series episodes and like reading the comics and stuff. So I think the Arkham games probably definitely have influenced the road I went down there. Dishonored 2, technically I think I tried this. I think Dishonored was like a free game on Xbox at some point, and so I think I tried it once, but again was like, this is stealth, I don't like this. The Witness, however, I have played The Witness. Interestingly, The Witness is actually one of those first games I streamed many years back before I was streaming consistently, because my sibling used to come and stay with me, like once a fortnight, and we would play video games and stream them. And this was before I had a camera or anything as well. This was my OG no cam stream days. But we would usually play one of two games. One was Borderlands 2, which we've already talked about. I introduced my sibling to Borderlands 2, and sometimes we'd play that. But the other thing was The Witness, because again, I think this was a game I got free on Xbox at some point. So, because it was just like this, it's a puzzle game, and I thought, hey, let's try this out. And I was particularly letting my sibling try and work out a bunch of the puzzles. And yeah, we streamed that. And actually, I think it was one of the first games I particularly got views on, because I was used to mostly just having like my friends in stream with me, or like one or two randoms dropping by every now and then. But I remember we got like 16 people watching us at one point playing this, I think, and we were like, where are these people coming from? What is going on? Like, Journey, heard of, haven't played. I've never played an Uncharted game. Overwatch, I have played this game. I actually only started playing Overwatch like last year, so I haven't played a lot of it, because I played a lot of Paladins. That was my Overwatch. I played a lot of Paladins. Overwatch is another one of those games where I'm like, I just want to stare at the pretty characters. Like, I just want to stare at the pretty characters. I think this is a game that someone in chat particularly loves. I haven't played it. Not necessarily my type of game. But I definitely know someone here loves Hollow Knight. Miss Pac-Man? Counter-Strike 1.6. Yeah, not surprised. Haven't played any of these games, but I'm not surprised. I am here for Left 4 Dead 2. I am here for Left 4 Dead 2. Although, I did go through a phase where I couldn't play this, because I got Left 4 Dead 2 when I was like, when I got my Xbox at home, which I think I was like 18 when I got one at home, rather than like I used to play games at my dad's. And I think I got Left 4 Dead 2 like around that time when I was like 18, 19 or something. And even at that point, maybe even a bit earlier, I don't remember. I just remember, like, I used to be much more of a baby with horror games than I am now. Like, you've all seen me squealing at playing horror games on stream, right? But I used to not even be able to play them at all. Like, I would freak out so much I would have to turn them off. And I had this problem with Left 4 Dead where when I was playing with people, like other people, I had like people at my house and stuff, we were playing together, it was fine. But I could not play it alone because it freaked me out. So I didn't play as much of it as I might have liked to because of that. But I do appreciate Left 4 Dead 2, and I've still played it in like recent years. I haven't played Earthbound either. Diablo 2, I've only played Diablo 3 personally, but Diablo 2 is here. StarCraft and World of Warcraft. None of these are games I've played, but all games I've heard of and am not surprised by. Kotar? Is that how people say it? This is one of those games where I'm not sure whether I've played it or not. Because I feel like there were a lot of games that I played that I don't remember what they were. And I definitely played Star Wars games, but I don't know if it was this game or if it was a different Star Wars game. And Fallout New Vegas, technically, I've played a little bit of this. Did I play a lot of it? No, I got like lost and confused and didn't end up continuing, but I've technically played some of New Vegas. Final Fantasy VI, as I said, I haven't played any Final Fantasies before 8, but this is interesting. This is interesting to me that this is so much higher than 7, because I never hear anyone speaking about the earlier ones. Everyone always talks about 7, and occasionally some of the ones that came after 7, but I never hear anyone speaking really about the games that came before 7, so that's interesting to me that this is higher up on the list. Pokemon Yellow, absolutely not. Gen 1 games are objectively terrible. See, this is the thing, I've never played them. I was never allowed to have a Game Boy, so I haven't played the original Pokemon games. As much as Pokemon is like one of my only Nintendo things I like Animal Crossing and Pokemon, and I'm a big Pokemon girly. I watched a ton of the anime as a kid, but I was never allowed a Game Boy, so my first Pokemon game was Pokemon Diamond. I didn't get to play any of the ones before that because I never had a Game Boy. Pokemon Diamond was my first one. But like, yeah, I feel like Pokemon does deserve to be on this list somewhere. At least one of them, because like, iconic, one of the biggest franchises out there. I have no comments on this. I've never played the original Pokemon games. Metroid Prime, haven't played, but there you go. Skyrim is one of my favorite games of all time. Almost surprised that it's this low, to be honest. 41. They have it at 41. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. It is one of my favorite games of all time. Probably one of my most played games. Particularly, I went through 2 major Skyrim phases. One, when it initially came out, I played a ton of it. And then, like, a year later, I think only like a year later, I went through another huge phase where I was playing a heap and started a bunch of other characters. I love Skyrim. I love Skyrim. I feel like the one thing I feel like Skyrim's missing is like personality in terms of some of the NPCs. I feel like if some of the characters had a bit more personality, it would be that much better. But I love Skyrim. I've put so many hours into Skyrim. Resident Evil 4. There you go. We've got more Resident Evil on here. Again, I've only played 7. And there's Last of Us Part 2, specifically. Shadow of the Colossus. That sounds familiar. That was either a relatively recent game or there was like a remake or sequel recently. But yeah, I haven't played any of these. But another Resident Evil game and Last of Us Part 2, specifically. I know Nathan never finished Part 2 because he hated one of the characters that you ended up having to play in it and was like, I don't want to play as her, and so he never finished it. Because he has played The Last of Us, but I have not. Red Dead. I played some of the second, I haven't played the first one. Metal Gear Solid, I've never played. Civilization. I don't think, what's that, Civ 4? I don't think I played 4, I think 5 was the first one I played. I have a feeling that the only Zelda game I've played any of is Breath of the Wild, which I have a feeling is going to be high up on this list because everyone raves about that. It's the only game I've played, again, Nintendo. I've only played that game, and even that game, I didn't play that much of because I wasn't that into it. Again, I got like kind of lost. And just gave up and was like, I don't care enough to try and continue and try and work out what I'm doing. It didn't really gel with me from the bit I played. But I have a feeling it's going to be up there. But I couldn't get into it. I couldn't get into it. Oh, here we go. Here's our Minecraft. Oh, here's some games I've played. I did go through my Minecraft phase, like many people. Although I went through it slightly after it came out, because initially it was again one of those games where I was like, I don't want to play this, I have no interest in playing this, and then my friends got me into it and I played a whole bunch of it. Yeah, Minecraft, not surprised to see this here. Halo is also one of my... Halo's a big franchise for me. I definitely went through a big Halo phase, played a lot of Halo when I was, what, like 12? Was when those first couple of games were out, I think. I've played the first 3 games, I think the first 3 games I played in their entirety, and then I've played like bits and pieces here and there since then. Although, I feel like I preferred 2 and 3 to Combat Evolved. Personally. Maybe 2 particularly. Another extremely overrated game. Yeah, again, I've never played Half-Life. It was again in that stage of I was a bit young to be given those games and such, and so I never played them. Yeah, I definitely feel like some of the games after were better than the original Halo. But obviously, like, the first Halo is really important for kicking off that franchise and for being such a major player, like, on Xbox in general, and the way it really helped to set Xbox up in the market, I guess. Final Fantasy 14. There we go. Not a big... What's the MMO? Yeah, MMO. Not a big MMO person, but there you go. Doom. I've played a bit of... What was that more recent Doom? Was it Doom Eternal? I've only played a bit of one of the, like, the more recent Doom. Personally. Tetris! Why do I think that... I mean, yeah, I guess Tetris does deserve to be on this list. I think, when I think of Tetris, I don't really think of, like, gaming, though. Like, yes, technically it's a video game, but I feel like when I think of Tetris, it just feels like its own category. I don't really think of it as like, yeah, actually that's a video game. I don't know. For some reason my brain, like, it doesn't connect with me in that way. But yeah, Tetris, man. Tetris. I've played lots of Tetris, sure. You go, Tetris, you go. Metal Gear Solid 3. We already had a Metal Gear Solid game, but there's another one. Never played them. Half-Life Alyx. More Half-Life. And God of War. Never played God of War, but again, that's also kind of down to the Xbox being more on the Xbox. Other than when I first started gaming. Like, when I first started gaming, that was on like the OG PlayStation. But when the Xbox came out, I kind of became an Xbox girly. Chrono Trigger, I've heard of. I haven't played it, but I've heard of. Portal. I never really played Portal. Again, it was one of those games I think I watched my dad play some of. So I didn't really play Portal. However, I was obsessed with the song from Portal. Still Alive. I still occasionally start singing that out of nowhere. It gets stuck in my head regularly. Still to this day. Was obsessed with that song, but not surprised it's on here either. Street Fighter 2. Again, I was a Dead or Alive girly. Didn't really play the other fighters, but Street Fighter 2. And Street Fighter's obviously one of like the OGs. Arcade days. Super Mario Brothers. More Nintendo. How much Nintendo is going to be at the top of this list? I'm judging. 20 Undertale. I've always been curious about this game because this is one of those games that had such... Undertale's one of those games that like took the internet by storm, and there were people who didn't seem to ever talk about video games beforehand that were suddenly really into this game. So Undertale, I know, has like that cult following behind it. I've never played it, but I've always been kind of curious about playing it because of its place. I feel like it's one of those games though that doesn't seem very gamey, if you know what I mean. Bloodborne looks very cool though. I've watched some people play this and like aesthetically, Bloodborne is so cool. I don't think I could play it. Again, don't have the patience for it, but I love the aesthetics of it and I will happily watch other people play this game. Bloodborne does seem very cool. Yeah, 18 Bioshock. This is a game I've started. Do I count this as having played it? I've started it! What happened with Bioshock, it's a game that, like, when I, like, started streaming, and I was streaming directly from my Xbox, I bought a Bioshock collection for my Xbox, and my intention was that it was a game I was going to play for the first time and stream. But a weird thing about the Bioshock collection, on Xbox at least, is it doesn't let you stream it. For some reason, I don't know why they've done it, it is blocked from streaming, which I've never had with any other game I ever played on my Xbox. The Bioshock collection on Xbox is completely blocked from streaming if you're just like streaming directly from the Xbox. So I was very upset about that. I did get it on sale, I didn't spend like a lot of money on it, but that was really upsetting, and that's one of the reasons I never played much of it, especially because, again, baby with creepy stuff, and so trying to play this alone, it's kind of creepy. Bioshock is kind of creepy. I'd probably be better at trying to play it now because I'm a bit more desensitized after playing a lot of horror games over the past couple of years. But at the time, I was struggling to kind of play through it while I was on my own, especially because I lived alone at the time. So it's why I didn't play a lot of it. But, yeah, I've watched other people play it. I think Bioshock's very cool. I would like to play through it properly myself at some point, but that is the reason that I never ended up playing a lot of it, because it was freaking blocked for some reason. But yeah, not surprised it's on here. Bioshock's cool. Gameplay was okay to me, but the world was enthralling. Yeah, this is very cool. It's another one of those things that, like, it aesthetically is very cool, as well as just having, like, cool elements to it. And it even mentions there the freaking twist. Of course I know about the twist, because I spend too much time on the internet, even though I've never played or watched through the entire game myself, but... yeah, very cool game, and one of those cosplays, I was kind of considering it for PAX. It's not one I ended up getting for PAX, but I was considering, because I've always considered cosplaying as a little sister, because they look kind of cool. Last of Us, here we go, here's the first Last of Us, again, a game I'm interested in playing. I haven't played it, but definitely interested in. The Witcher I have played. Not surprised either of these are up here, to be honest. The Witcher is one of those games, again, I never finished, but I did actually play quite a lot of The Witcher. It's another game I got on launch. I played quite a lot of. The problem I had with The Witcher is that there was so much to look at, especially because it was the type of game that had everything on the map, where, like, if some games don't give you everything straight up on the map and you have to find things yourself, but because on the map it had all the little marks on it of things that you could find, I found myself not doing the story stuff at all and just, like, exploring every single little dot I saw on the map, and I spent so much time doing that I never finished the main story. And I think the other issue I had with The Witcher was I didn't love the combat, to be honest. I loved a lot, like, everything else about this game. The one thing I didn't love was the combat. And since that is kind of a big component, that was my one drawback of this. Didn't love the combat, loved, like, everything else about the game. But sometimes you just gotta... Oh, okay, good. We can all relax! We can all relax! We were all concerned about Halo being on the list when the other ones are better, but there we go. Halo 2... is above it on the list. It's okay, everyone. Halo 2 is in the top 15. It's okay. So I have played this one. I did like it over the first one, so I'm glad it is higher up on the list. We can all relax. Halo 2's up here. Yep. We can all breathe easy now. We can all relax. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Never played it. Hades. This is a game... I'm curious about Hades. I've seen so much about Hades that I'm curious about it, but at the same time, I'm not sure if it's a game that I would personally enjoy. However, despite the fact I have not played Hades, it is a game I've drawn fan art for, because I watched someone play it and instantly fell in love with some of the designs, and so I drew fan art of its Hades design of Nyx. So I've drawn fan art for a game I've never played. The designs in this are gorgeous, and I'm intrigued by it, but I don't know if the gameplay would be for me. I actually have this game. Did I play much of the story? No. Did I still play a bunch of this game because of the online mode? Yes. I also actually watched a lot of the story mode be played because the guy I was seeing at the time bought this game on launch and did the thing where he like didn't sleep and played it for like 8 hours straight. And part of that was, like, at my house that he did that. I think I went to sleep and then woke back up and he was still playing it. So I saw most of this story being played, but only played a little bit of it myself. But I did play a bunch of the online, and that was chaotic fun. That was chaotic fun. This was before, you know, before I was, like, watching streams online and stuff, back in the day when, you would just watch someone play a video game at your house for hours. Super Mario Bros. 3. There's another thing. I think I have played a couple of Mario games, as much as I said, you know, Nintendo. I think I've technically played a couple, but I have no idea which ones they were. I definitely had some on, like, I reckon I had a Mario game on DS that I did play a bunch of, but I don't know which one it would have been. Ooh, I have played this game. I haven't finished it yet. This is actually a game I bought this year. Something I've been playing off stream. I do own this game. It's the only problem I'm having with this game, Disco Elysium? The one problem I'm having with this game is it's a very kind of heavy game. Like it's got a lot going on. And it's one of those things I need to be like in the right headspace to play. But yeah, this is something I have been playing off stream a bit this year, actually. So I've played this, and I know it has gotten a lot of hype. I don't know whether I'd necessarily put it in, like, best games, but, I mean, I'm not all the way through it yet. It's interesting. It definitely is an interesting game, with a lot of psychological stuff going on, and some interesting themes, and kind of just choosing what you're doing, and it is interesting. Number 9, Half-Life 2. Again, I've never played Half-Life. Am I surprised? No. Number 8 is Red Dead 2. I have actually played a bunch of that. Did I finish it? No. This is another game I bought probably not long after it came out. One of those games. I don't even know why I didn't finish this. Like, sometimes I don't finish games because I got lost or I got stuck and never ended up getting around to it. I think with Red Dead 2, I don't think I had any problems with it. I think what probably happened is I just got busy and stopped playing it, and then like new games came out and I forgot to ever go back to it. I think that's probably more what happened. Like, I don't think I was stuck or anything. I think I just never ended up getting back around to going back to it. Super Mario 64. I'm looking at the next one. But Super Mario 64, synonymous with fun and innovation. I mean, Mario has its place, man. Is it my favorite thing ever? Probably not, but Mario has its place. Mass Effect 2, man. This is... It was Paul saying earlier how Mass Effect does not deserve to be on this list anyway. Anyway, it's number 6. However, Mass Effect 2 is probably in my top 10 games. When it comes to, like, my personal favorite games, like, my top 10, Mass Effect 2 is probably in there, so I'm not disagreeing with it. Is the combat my favorite? No. The combat isn't necessarily my favorite, but I love this game otherwise, especially the characters. The characters make this game for me. Like, this is in my top 10 games, I'll admit. We technically didn't finish it on stream, but we did play a lot of it on stream in the past year. Alright, top 5, let's go. Number 5 is a game I've never played. Super Metroid. Anyone who's played it who has an opinion? I have no opinion. I have never played Super Metroid. Freaking more Zelda. Number 4, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. The interesting thing about this to me is just the fact that whenever I hear people talk about Zelda, there are a few games that I hear regularly talk about. Don't think I've ever really heard people talk about this one. Number 3, Portal 2. There we go. There we go. We had the first Portal, and Portal 2 has made it into our top 5. I'm not surprised about this. Again, I haven't really played the Portal games, but from what I've seen and like the snippets I have experienced, they seem like good, well done games, so I'm not mad. Alright, here we go. Super Mario World. Relatively simple game to describe. There's like too much Nintendo at the top of this list for my liking. Too much. Too much. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was right. This is the game that I hear so many people talking about, and it was nowhere else on the list. Like, I knew it was going to be on here somewhere, even though I gave up on this game. This is a game I've played and gave up on and don't really have an interest in. So, apparently I'm in the minority there, but too much freaking Nintendo. Too much Nintendo. So I think about what games I love that didn't appear. Dragon Age is one of my favorite franchises of all time, and there was a Mass Effect, but no Dragon Age. And I know there are definitely elements of some of those games that I guess objectively aren't good, but it's still like one of my favorite franchises of all time. So I would definitely have a Dragon Age somewhere on like my personal list. We had Borderlands 2. In terms of my top, I mean, a lot of my top 5 games, either my actual favorite game was represented or like a game from that franchise were here. And like Mass Effect 2, Borderlands 2, Halo 2, The Sims 3, like Animal Crossing I definitely vibed with, although again, missing things from previous games. Yeah, Dragon Age is missing for me in terms of like my personal favorite franchises. Fable is one of my favorite games of all time, but Fable 2 was on here. Trying to think if there are any other things that are like personal favorites that didn't appear here. Dragon Age is the only one that particularly stands out to me of like personal favorite games that I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm probably missing something. Oh, in terms of like my most played games, like Dead by Daylight, do I think that's objectively like the best game ever? No, it's just my most played game of the past couple of years, but... Yes, Skyrim was on the top 100. There was Skyrim, which, yes, Skyrim's one of my favorite games. So a lot of my favorite games or franchises were actually represented here somewhere. Most of them. So, it's a win. That's a win. But yeah, I don't know about all this Nintendo at the top, man. No mention of oh my gosh, not balloons! Not balloons! No, yeah, that was IGN's top 100 video games of all time. I have played about 25 of them. I played about a quarter of this list. So of this list, I've played about a quarter of them, plus a handful of things I've maybe like played once. But in terms of games I've like actually played, about a quarter of the list. I've personally played about a quarter of the list, which isn't awful, especially considering a lot of them were like came out when I was quite young, because they're like from video game history. That's not awful. It's not awful. I've played about a quarter of the list. Some of my favorite franchises were represented. I'm not too bad. I mean, not loving. I don't agree with the first one personally, but I know so many people who love this game. So I don't like disagree with it on like a global standpoint. I just personally couldn't get into it, but there we go. I've played a quarter of them. Some of my favorite games were represented. I'm not mad. That was our top 100 that we went through.